I'm Lori Winterfeld. I'm the Community Education Director for the Moorhead Area Public Schools. We're delighted to be able to bring you this introduction to some of your neighbors, people who've chosen to move to the Midwest and to live in the Fargo-Moorhead area and make this place their home. They have a message for all of us that I think will be inspiring and enlightening, and I know I learned a lot just listening to them. We're grateful for the Walmart Corporation for giving us a grant to be able to do this project and hope you enjoy learning about your neighbors.
My name is Haroon Hayder, and I'm originally from Kurdistan in Iraq, and I'm from a Yazidi community, and I came here to the United States in February 1st, 2016, and first I came to Fargo, and we stayed in Fargo for 6 months. Then we moved to Moorhead. Now I live in Moorhead. Actually, life in Iraq was really hard for us as the Yazidis. In general, life there is really hard for everybody there, but especially for the Yazidi people. So the reason why the life was very difficult and hard for the Yazidi people, it is because of their religion. So the Yazidi religion is totally different from the Muslims and the Christians and the other minorities in Iraq. And the reason why we left Iraq and we are still the big number of Yazidi community are striving and are trying hard to leave Iraq because of the prosecutions that's done against these innocent people. Because of what? Because of the beliefs and values and norms that are different from the majority of the Muslim community. We left. This is like in 2014. The biggest prosecution happened against the Yazidi community, and of course it was not the first prosecution. We have gone through 74 genocides, and it is because there was no big media in that time to tell the people and to tell the other people from around the world to know what is going on to the Yazidis. Now we have a media, we have a big social media. Social media plays a really big role in telling people. Of course, it's not 100% accurate, but still it shows the people what's going on around the world. So we have our life was really in danger because of constant, frequent prosecution on stereotypes, discrimination, and prejudice. We couldn't live our life over there. And the prosecution happened in 2014 was a really big push to Yazidi community to leave Iraq forever. And the number of Yazidis in Iraq is shrinking. Is because they want to find a better life in other countries, because it's been like a 74 genocide. They just can't live like that. And if you go there, their situation is way more tragic. It's a tragedy. People are living in a tents, a clothes tents, and they lack sanitation, and they lack a purity of water, and a clean food, and clean air. They live in a dust, and hence the international community are not taking any actions taking any action to support the Yazidi community or to build a better life for them. And we still have we still like the radical Islamic groups. They accuse us of being like infidels. You don't deserve to be alive, and this is not acceptable. Like, I mean, we are human beings, and when they get a chance to capture our girls, they put them in sexual captivity. They make them as sex slaves, concubines. And we still have 1,000 of our girls, like immature girls, still like they have been raped like several times, like even 3 or 5 times in a day. And it's just, we still have 1,000 of Yazidi girls still in their captivity, and yet nobody is taking any action to rescue them. It's tragedy. I mean, people keep showing the ignorance, and this is not what the humanity stands for. The humanity stands for empathy, compassion, and to care, like to care for your neighbor, like for the human beings. It's not what we are made for. We are made for to show our feelings toward the others. And they have like some kind of, this kind of group, they are not even a human, like they have some kind of a hard ideology that's planted in their heads, and to not accept my values and my culture. So we are all humans. Like, I mean, why would you like impose your restriction on me? You have your own values, I have my own values. Let's live together. Let's build a beautiful analogy, I mean, coexistence. But it sounds like they don't accept that. My journey, I was like back in Iraq. I used to be an interpreter.
Okay.
An interpreter, yeah. And I worked with several journalists. And my uncle was an interpreter with the U.S. Army back in Iraq War. And he was an interpreter with the U.S. Army, and he worked with them for like more than 7 years. So the U.S. interpreters, they got a chance to come to the United States to find a better life for them, like for them and for their families. So the case with that, those who were interpreters in Iraq back in Iraqi war, the terrorists would consider them traitors, like you helped the Americans, so you have to face death. You have to get killed, you and your whole family. The life of the interpreters was in a real danger, and this leads to jeopardize the life of the families, the rest of the family as well. So my uncle got a chance to get the SIV to come to the United States. He came to the United States in 2014, before the disaster that happened to Yazidis. It was like 2 months before that accident, that catastrophe, we can call it genocide. And then we got a chance. We got a chance to apply for the IOM in order to come to the United States.
The IOM.
IOM, yep. It's an international immigration organization.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah, and then we are two big families. Like our family is consisted of 11 people, and we went to Baghdad. We had to do the interviews in Baghdad embassy, American embassy in Baghdad. So the way like the road going from my hometown to Baghdad was like 7 hours long, and the way like the cities between my small town and the Baghdad was really dangerous. So you are going, like when you go through those cities, you can see a lot of damaged houses and collapsed, and you can see the firing, like, I mean, the whole of the explosives, the remnant of the explosives, and a lot of terrible things. It was really dangerous for us to put the whole family in a car and to take the risk and to go to the U.S. Embassy. And it was like, it was really like really dangerous for us, because if they capture a family whose uncle was an interpreter, there was no choice. You die. There was no choice. Like we had to cover, like our girls, we had to cover their heads with the scarves, even though we don't cover our heads. Like our women, they don't cover their hair, they don't wear scarves. We had to do that in order to disguise, like to be a Muslims, like a Muslim, so in order to avoid the distraction or avoid the danger that we are putting our life in. So we had to drive, like as I told you, that it took like 7 hours to go to Baghdad. So we went there. We rent an apartment for 2 days, and we go to the we had to go to the embassy in 6 a.m. So earlier you go, better you can get, like the better the situation would be. So we went to the embassy and we did the interviews, and then after that we had to take a medical checkup, and then my dad got a call from the U.S. Embassy that he said, like, you guys are going to the United States in February 1st. It was like, I couldn't believe it, to be honest. Like, it was, I mean, something, it was incredible. I mean, crazy. We really got happy. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, that was the happiest moment in our life. So we took, and then after that we went to the Howler Erbil International Airport, and we had to leave from the airport at 6:30 a.m. for Jordan International Airport, and then from Jordan we stayed like for 2 or 3 hours, and then the longest journey began. It was like a 13 hours or like a 12 hours. But we never felt that. I mean, it was the plane was really good and comfortable, and I mean, the attendants, like the flight attendants, they were really helpful, and there was food. I mean, that was my first. Oh, actually, my first time, like getting into the plane was from the Erbil International Airport. That was my first time. Like I was like 23 years old, and I had never been in a plane, and that was my first time, and it was crazy, and we got jet lagged. I mean, it was, and then we came to Chicago. We arrived Chicago. It was like 7 p.m. because our time and Iraq time is a little bit different, like 8 hours or 10 hours. I don't know exactly. So we stayed in for one night in a hotel. I don't remember the hotel, but it was really nice and comfy. And then we took a flight from Chicago to Fargo. We were received by our uncle, Izzat al-Hayder. And then we feel that we are safe. I mean, there is no danger. I mean, there is no more danger. I mean, we are safe. And hope for a better future. That was wonderful.
So did all of your uncle's family then, were they all made it out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but I still have my sister there. She's married. Okay. So she did the first interview, but she got married. So if you get married, the case is gonna be complicated. Okay. So you like, if you get married, like the interviewer told me, do not get married. If you get married, you're not going to US. I said, I'm not getting married. But she got married, so she couldn't, like, it's gonna be a different case. So So my mother, like my parents, have to get the U.S. citizenship in order to get it. But their situation, the Yazidi situation, is in a very, very tragic or miserable situation. I mean, they are barely surviving. It's getting worse and deteriorated.
Did your sister marry an Yazidi man?
Yes. Uh, the first, like as I remember when we were still in a plane, it was we arrived like the Chicago sky. It was all light, and everybody, even the whole family, got shocked. Like, when, like, look at the view. I mean, it's spectacular. I mean, it's really it was crazy. Like going to Chicago. I never thought this is gonna come true. I mean, it's that was crazy. Like I couldn't feel happier. I mean, like any happier. I mean, it was incredible moment in my life. For the rest of the family, yeah, of course. When we first came to Fargo, so we helped by the Lutheran Social Services, and they did a really wonderful job, and they were really helpful through the process of immigration and helping and getting the apartment ready before going in. And there was the furniture was there, and the kids' toys were there, and they felt really happy. I mean, and the refrigerator was full of food. I mean, they did a really great job. I mean, it was wonderful. We had to hire 2 apartments because we were a big family, so we couldn't get into one apartment because there's 11 family. And yes, it was good. They did a really good job, and we really feel appreciated. Oh yeah, it is. When I was back home, I felt that I can't do anything. I was like that. I mean, like, I was lost. I mean, I thought like I don't have abilities and I don't have passion, and I was lost when I was in Iraq. I mean, like, there was no motivation, and there was no pat on the back. If you are skillful, if you have the skills, your skills gonna die through the time, because it's all corruption, man. But when I came to the United States, I found myself, like, to be honest, like, I found myself, like, I got into like a social activities, like community, and I got to know the different people. They were really nice people. And as I remember, the first activities that I went was because I worked. Then after that activity, I worked as a volunteer. It was a cultural diversity resources. They set up an event for a different culture of foods, from different backgrounds. My uncle took me there. Izzat, he was like, this happened thanks to Izzat. He did a really great job. He brought us all here. He gave us a life. I mean, he gave us a future. And then I started to feel that I can do things. Like, I mean, I have a passion. I can do new things. Like, I can be skillful, and I can contribute to the community. And then I volunteered in a cultural diversity resource, and I had to help people, especially those people who needed to get a food basket, or like a cloth refill of food, like a basket. I used to get a call from those people and refer them to the emergency food pantry to, and we had to help people, those especially the new Americans, when they visit us, they had to look for jobs. So for looking for a job, you have to make a good resume. So we dedicated our time to create resumes, good resumes for the new Americans in order to find a job and in order to integrate with the community. Because some people, like when the new Americans come here and they don't have a language skills, the language is a biggest barrier. So if you don't know the language, it's really hard to find a good job or a decent job. So we have to find like to build a resume so they can find a job. Like I'm not talking about a decent job, but to provide something for the family, and then to get some English. Like we had to give them some kind of courses, like English courses, this kind of stuff. It was really interesting. And then I became a member of Global Shaper, Fargo Global Shaper. It's a group of leaders, like they are leaders, to be honest. I mean, they create a really helpful atmosphere among the Fargo and Moorhead community. Their job is committed to help the community to grow and to help the young people to strive and show up, like come to the surface to help the community to grow and to advance. I mean, that's what I can put in that way. and after that, like I participate in a lot of social activity like Absent Narrative. Okay. Absent Narrative is about the stories, like exchanging stories, and I'm a member of the Ford Narrative. It's a Concordia College Ford Narrative. It's just like the main purpose is to raise empathy and compassion among the community member, so you can hear their stories. So if you hear my story and I listen to your story, so I can feel your what do you have, like to put in yourself, that I can feel your experiences and your feelings. It's a really good initiative. Yeah. Now I work at the library, Ames State Library, because I go to college, majoring in communication and human resources. And I'm still looking forward to more activities and more community or social activities. Oh, like my plan, I'm not pretty sure, but I'm looking for to be a community activist, like to work in the community. Yeah.
The Absent Narrative Project is actually what this is part of.
Yeah.
So this is really exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting. We had to do to hear different stories, so we could utilize those stories to help education to make it better, or to make education better for the refugees and even for the Americans, not even for the refugees. So they can get like a socializations between the Americans and the new Americans, to know to be competent in cultures, to know the different cultures, to get socialized. To know more about the cultures, because nowadays we need to teach our kids to know more about the different cultures, because it is expanding and expanding. We cannot stop it. I speak 3 languages. I speak and a little bit of French, but it's hard. I speak English, Arabic, and Kurdish.
And where did you learn English?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, but it's gonna be a little bit weird. Um, the first step that I took to learn English was memorizing vocabularies. I still remember when I was a kid, my dad, we used to have like a small store, to selling food, veggies and those stuffs, and he had to put a small board on the refrigerator, and he used to write the vocabularies in English, and he used to tell us, whoever memorized 5 vocabularies each day, I pay you money. Like I pay you, we had like a dinners. It's different from dollars.
Yes.
Yeah, we had our own money. So he said like, I will give you like $1 for 5 vocabularies each day if you memorize. So I had to do it. Money to get a candies, to get a stuff, toys. So I had to do it like every day. Not every day, but it was like the really good starting. Like it was a really good start for me to get and to navigate more in English. And then I started to memorize vocabularies and putting into sentences, in order to not forget the words. Because if you just memorize the vocabularies, you're gonna forget about it. It's gone. But then I watched movies. Like we can say, like 70% of my English is from the movies and songs, and the rest is academic. It's academic acquisition. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So your dad was a native. Where did he learn how to speak English?
Actually, he was really, really eager to learn English.
Okay.
He used to memorize the English, but it was really hard for him. But he was a source of motivation for us. Like, you have to try to learn English. This is one of the international language. So if you learn English, in the future you're gonna thank me. And now it's hard for you to do, but you're gonna thank me. And then my uncle is that then he gave me more because he graduated from the college English department, so he gave me more. But the way I used they learned to speak a little bit like you guys, I got it from movies. I used to watch 3 movies, 4 movies in a day.
Wow.
Like myself in a room, nobody come in. The one thing I would like to tell my Fargo and community friends, and I would like to tell them, stop being ignorant. The ignorance is not the right way to show the people that we are, because humanity, it's all about empathy, and compassion, having a compassion, and having a sense of humanity towards your neighbor. And I would recommend them to study, to know more, to learn more about different cultures and different backgrounds, because nowadays, America has become like a mosaic of cultures, different cultures, and I'm not saying the only Americans. I'm talking about even the new Americans. If the new Americans are coming here, it doesn't mean that you have to just stick to your own culture. Try to learn others' cultures too. Try to assimilate. I'm not saying forget your culture, but you have to learn about their culture too. Do not be stick to your own culture and be how can I say, stone-hated. You have to be how can I say, you have to receive and take. You don't have just to take or. Yeah, that's what I would tell the new Americans and the Americans.